Welcome to this week's version of Nichols and Dimes, our weekly video series. The quote of the week this week comes from James Cook. I think we've quoted him in the past. James says, "Inflation makes the wealthiest people richer and the masses poorer." James Cook said, "Inflation makes the wealthiest people richer and the masses poorer." Well, for many years, as we know, interest rates were declining for many, many years, decades and decades, which meant that the folks, for example, in CDs, certificates of deposit, or even savings accounts, were earning very little on their savings. The Federal Reserve, for many years, again, has dropped interest rates to help stimulate the economy. And that has caused people, again, in savings accounts and CDs and money markets to really earn no interest. So effectively, it's forced them to take on risk by putting money in, for example, stocks and instruments like high-yield bonds or junk bonds. Usually, though, the folks that are not the most sophisticated, the lower economic, folks living in our country and around the world, generally aren't the most sophisticated. They don't have investment accounts with brokers or advisors, whether it's through a custodian like TD Ameritrade or Fidelity or even Vanguard. And they tend to stay in savings accounts and CDs, where those that are generally more educated and more highly sophisticated, understand the financial markets better, tend to own stocks and bonds and even alternative investments that are offered through broker-dealers and through advisors. And those folks, the latter folks in my example, have made money on average the last 10 to 20 to 30 years by sticking in investments, and waiting over the long run. Why am I bringing this up? Because you've probably seen in the news the last bunch of years a lot of concern about inflation, and even more so, as we've seen the 10-year Treasury note that in the fall of 2020, late last year, was down to around 50 basis points for a 10-year coupon. Now it's jumped up to a little over 1.5% in short order. So there's a lot of concern about rising costs. You've seen gas prices come up recently. Even the cost of lumber has dramatically increased. But one real example of inflation happened last weekend in the country of Turkey. Now, Turkey is a country that is one of the largest in the world, and they, like a lot of countries, control their monetary supply, the money supply. Well, just last weekend, the president of Turkey fired the central bank chair. Now, the markets didn't like it. What ended up happening is it shot up inflation literally within a matter of days. So in other words, the challenge is that if you're earning, for example, $50,000 a year, and you're on a fixed income such as that, but the cost of goods go up 20% in a matter of a couple days, your purchasing power declines significantly. Unfortunately, we, as the average citizens, don't have any control over that. So that is a real-life example that most recently affected the citizens of Turkey, where just really overnight, they had massive inflation, and the purchasing power of their currency really didn't go as far as it did even a few days prior. So it's crazy what's going on around the world. And again, I'm not saying that's going to happen here in the U.S., but that's a real-life example of how inflation can affect your ability to purchase goods and services, and even basic products like food, for example, quite quickly. So my question to you is this. Is your portfolio positioned for what could be negative, rates on purchasing power? In other words, a negative effect on your purchasing power. So, if you have a dollar, will your dollar, with the rate of inflation increasing, go nearly as far as it used to? Now, the government says historically, the inflation's around 2 to 3%. Even now, as they say, well, even if rates go up, it just shows confidence in a growing and expanding and recovering economy. Certainly that's their opinion, and take that for what it's worth. But again, we are seeing real inflation, and I used two examples: gas prices and the cost and the price of lumber that have jumped up the last 6 to 12 months. Again, the question I'm asking you is, are you in the right investments over the long term to offset potential inflation? So to offset the cost of rising goods. You can sit there and do nothing, which, maybe is comfortable for you and gives you more peace of mind. But the reality is inflation is happening right now in a few areas of our economy. But obviously, in an extreme example, inflation happened in a rapid way in the country of Turkey. Again, you could just look it up. Dramatic problem for the citizens of Turkey. Hopefully that does not happen here. But again, are you prepared? Ideally, you're in control of your financial future and positioning your portfolio to offset potential inflation coming down the road. If you don't know if you're in the right investments, or if you would like a second opinion, whether you go to your own advisor or contact us, I certainly would be prudent. To that end, if you would like to contact us, see Nichols at nicholswealth.com, or go on our website at nicholswealth.com to learn more. Thank you again for watching, and you have a wonderful day. Thanks.